USAFE says the EA-37B arrived at Ramstein on a scheduled European roadshow stop. The arrival of the specialized electronic warfare platform has drawn attention given the current situation between Washington and Tehran, though the Air Force has framed the visit as a planned stop rather than a crisis deployment. Some defense outlets speculate the timing could matter for Iran-related contingencies, but USAFE has characterized the stop as part of a scheduled roadshow. This distinction is important for understanding whether the aircraft's presence represents routine activity or preparation for potential operations. The official characterization emphasizes the planned nature of the visit. Public flight tracking communities noted the transit, but the mission purpose is not publicly confirmed. The tracking of military aircraft movements has become common among aviation enthusiasts and analysts, though such observations do not necessarily indicate the operational intent behind any particular movement. ACC describes it as an airborne electronic attack system meant to deny and disrupt networks, useful in many scenarios. Its appearance at a major European base during a period of regional tension naturally draws attention, but that attention should be balanced against official statements about the purpose of the visit. Some defense outlets have speculated about the timing of the EA-37B's appearance at Ramstein, suggesting it could be relevant to Iran-related scenarios given the current tensions between Washington and Tehran. However, analysts say electronic warfare assets are relevant in any high-end scenario, but there is no public confirmation this visit is tied to a specific Iran operation. The speculation reflects broader attention to American military movements during a period of heightened tensions with Iran. Any visit of specialized capabilities draws scrutiny from observers seeking to interpret American intentions. However, USAFE's characterization of the visit as a scheduled roadshow stop suggests caution about assuming operational intent. Defense analysts note that roadshow visits serve important purposes, including familiarizing Allied forces with American capabilities, coordinating potential integration for future operations, and demonstrating commitment to partnerships. These activities occur regularly regardless of specific geopolitical tensions and should not automatically be interpreted as preparation for imminent operations. The distinction between speculation and confirmed intent is important for accurate understanding of the situation. While observers naturally interpret military movements in context of ongoing tensions, such interpretation should be clearly distinguished from official statements about purpose. In its official fact sheet, Air Combat Command describes the EA-37B as an airborne electronic attack system meant to deny and disrupt adversary networks. This official characterization provides authoritative description of the platform's capabilities and intended role in American military operations, distinguishing it from speculation in defense media. The Air Force fact sheet says the EA-37B is built on a modified Gulfstream G550 airframe. The selection of a business jet platform for this mission reflects specific requirements including speed, range, endurance, and the ability to host the complex electronics required for electronic warfare missions. A CC lists the range at 4,410 nautical miles. How it is used operationally is not detailed publicly. The extended range allows for long-duration missions, though specific employment details remain within military planning rather than public documentation. The EA-37B is powered by two Rolls-Royce BR-710C411 engines producing about 15,385 pounds of thrust each, according to the fact sheet. These engines enable sustained high-altitude operations where the aircraft can maximize the reach of its electronic warfare systems. According to Air Combat Command, the Compass Call's core mission involves disrupting enemy command and control systems, communications, radars, and navigation, while also supporting suppression of enemy air defenses. These capabilities would be valuable in various conflict scenarios where degrading adversary systems provides tactical and operational advantages. The suppression of enemy air defenses, often abbreviated as SEAD, is typically an early priority in military operations because it reduces the risk to other aircraft conducting subsequent missions, according to defense doctrine. By degrading radar and communication systems that enable air defenses, electronic warfare creates conditions more favorable for other platforms. The ability to affect communications has implications beyond immediate tactical effects, according to defense analysts. Disrupted communications can complicate an adversary's ability to coordinate responses, share information about threats, and execute planned operations. ACC says communications were improved, including expanded satcom and upgraded data links. These upgrades help coordinate multiple assets and share information faster than previous systems, allowing the aircraft to function as part of integrated operations. ACC says the Compass Call can integrate with fighter aircraft to help suppress enemy air defense missions. This integration supports strikes by degrading detection and engagement systems that would otherwise threaten attacking aircraft. The suppression of enemy air defenses is typically an early phase priority in military operations. The platform's role as what ACC describes as a force multiplier means its value extends beyond its own capabilities, according to the fact sheet. By weakening adversary systems, the EA-37B theoretically makes every other American platform more effective and survivable. The ability to degrade enemy radar and communication systems before kinetic strikes would provide significant advantages to attacking forces, according to military doctrine. Aircraft and missiles operating against degraded defenses face reduced risk of detection and interception. The integration capabilities reflect broader trends in military operations toward networked, coordinated approaches rather than independent action by individual platforms. The EA-37B fits into this paradigm as one element of a system of systems rather than as a self-contained capability. Ramstein is a major U.S. hub in Europe, and hosting the aircraft there makes it easier to coordinate familiarization and logistics with allies. The base's infrastructure supports various activities, including training, coordination, and potential operational activities if required. Its location in Germany provides access to multiple regions. The selection of Ramstein for the roadshow visit reflects the base's role as a central node in American military presence in Europe, according to defense analysts. The facilities, support infrastructure, and existing relationships with allied forces make it a natural location for familiarization activities that involve coordination with partners. From Germany, the aircraft could reposition to support different regions on short notice, though specific timelines and routing would depend on mission requirements. The flexibility to move between potential areas of operation is valuable for military planning. The characterization of the visit as a roadshow stop suggests the primary purpose involves familiarization and coordination rather than immediate operational employment. Such activities are routine for advanced platforms that require integration with allied forces and coordination across different commands. Analysts say electronic warfare assets are relevant in any high-end scenario, but there is no public confirmation this visit is tied to a specific Iran operation. This analytical perspective acknowledges the capabilities involved while maintaining appropriate caution about attributing specific operational intent without official confirmation. Electronic warfare capabilities would provide advantages in the opening phases of any significant military operation by degrading adversary communications, radar, and command systems, according to defense analysts. This general relevance explains why such capabilities draw attention during periods of tension, regardless of specific operational plans. The logic behind electronic warfare is that such capabilities can weaken an adversary before any kinetic strikes begin, according to defense doctrine. By degrading communications, radar, and command systems, electronic warfare creates conditions more favorable for subsequent operations. This sequencing is standard doctrine rather than indication of specific plans. Defense doctrine across many militaries emphasizes the importance of achieving electromagnetic spectrum superiority early in conflicts. The United States has invested heavily in capabilities like the EA-37B precisely because of this doctrinal emphasis. The investment reflects general strategic priorities rather than specific operational intentions. It is important to note that there is no public confirmation this visit is tied to a specific Iran operation. USAFE has characterized the stop as a scheduled roadshow, and speculation about Iran-related purposes represents interpretation by defense outlets and analysts rather than official statements about intent. The distinction between official characterization and external speculation matters for accurate understanding of the situation. While observers naturally interpret military movements in the context of ongoing tensions, such interpretation should be clearly distinguished from confirmed operational intent. Analysts note electronic warfare can affect distributed networks across a region, but any specific target set would be speculation without official confirmation. This caution applies to suggestions about potential targets, including adversary command systems, radar networks, or other specific objectives that might be discussed in speculative analysis. The responsible approach to reporting on military movements involves distinguishing between what is officially confirmed, what is reasonably inferred from available evidence, and what represents speculation. The EA-37B visit falls into the category of officially characterized as routine, while generating speculation about potential relevance to current tensions. Reports say the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group is in the Middle East region as tensions with Iran remain elevated. The carrier's presence represents a significant addition to American military capability in the region, providing what is described as a major floating air base and strike platform. The Carrier Strike Group brings substantial aviation capability to the region, including fighter aircraft, electronic warfare aircraft organic to the air wing, and support aircraft, according to reporting. This concentration of capability provides options for both defensive and offensive operations, depending on how the situation evolves. International reporting says the Carrier Group is accompanied by destroyers carrying Tomahawk cruise missiles. The combination of carrier aviation and cruise missile capability provides multiple options for projecting force if decisions are made to employ military means. These capabilities are standard for Carrier Strike Group deployments. The destroyers also provide air defense and anti-submarine capabilities that protect the carrier and other assets in the strike group. This integrated approach to naval operations means the strike group is largely self-sufficient for extended deployments, reducing dependence on shore-based support. Defense outlets report additional F-15Es and tankers moving into the region, including to Jordan. The positioning of tanker aircraft alongside strike fighters indicates planning for extended operations, allowing combat aircraft to remain on station longer or reach targets at greater distances. The F-15E Strike Eagle is a dual-role fighter capable of both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions, according to Air Force descriptions. Its deployment to the region adds capability for various scenarios, including air superiority, strike missions, and defensive operations. The aircraft's versatility makes it valuable for uncertain situations where requirements may evolve. Tanker aircraft are essential enablers for sustained air operations. Without aerial refueling, combat aircraft are limited by their internal fuel capacity, restricting either range or time on station. The deployment of tankers alongside strike aircraft suggests preparation for operations that could require extended presence or reach. The accumulation of capabilities, carriers, destroyers, strike aircraft, tankers, and the arrival of electronic warfare platforms at European bases creates comprehensive capability for various scenarios. This posture provides options ranging from deterrence through presence to actual military operations if political decisions are made to employ force. The combination of visible firepower and specialized capabilities suggests preparation that goes beyond symbolic demonstrations, according to some analysts. However, others note that such deployments also serve deterrent purposes and do not necessarily indicate imminent military action. The distinction between deterrence and preparation for operations matters for understanding American intentions, according to defense analysts. Both interpretations are consistent with the observable military movements, and the actual purpose may involve elements of both or may shift depending on how the situation evolves. Deterrence theory suggests that demonstrating capability and resolve can prevent adversary actions by convincing them that the costs of action would exceed any benefits. From this perspective, the military buildup serves its purpose by being visible and credible, regardless of whether actual military action is ever employed. Alternatively, the buildup could represent genuine preparation for military operations that decision makers are actively considering. From this perspective, the visible movements reflect operational requirements rather than primarily serving signaling purposes. The actual intent likely involves elements of both deterrence and preparation. From Tehran's perspective, according to Iranian official statements, the capabilities that American electronic warfare might target represent necessary deterrence against a hostile superpower. Iran views its missiles, drones, and communication systems not as offensive threats, but as defensive measures developed in response to decades of American pressure. Iranian officials have consistently argued that their military investments are designed to impose costs on any attacker rather than to initiate aggression, according to Iranian statements. The communications and radar systems that American electronic warfare might target are characterized by Tehran as essential for defending Iranian sovereignty. This framing shapes how Iranian leaders interpret American deployments and capabilities, according to analysts. What Washington characterizes as preparation for defensive options may appear to Tehran as preparation for attack. The positioning of capabilities designed to degrade Iranian defenses underscores these concerns from the Iranian perspective. The differing framings, American characterization of Iranian threats versus Iranian characterization of American threats, represent fundamentally different understandings of the same military capabilities and movements. These competing narratives complicate diplomatic resolution because each side interprets the other's actions through its own framework. International reporting says Saudi Arabia and the UAE have signaled they do not want their territory used for strikes on Iran. These signals from major American allies in the region have implications for any potential military operations and the geography of any conflict. The positions taken by Gulf states reflect their own calculations about regional stability and their relationships with both the United States and Iran, according to regional analysts. The willingness to publicly signal limitations on cooperation with potential American military action represents a notable development in regional dynamics. These positions complicate potential American operational planning while also potentially serving de-escalatory purposes, according to analysts. By limiting options for military action, Gulf states may be attempting to reduce the likelihood of conflict that would affect their own security and economic interests. The statements reflect improved relationships between Gulf states and Iran following the Chinese-mediated diplomatic breakthrough that restored Saudi-Iranian relations, according to regional reporting. Regional dynamics have shifted from the previous period when Gulf states more readily aligned with American pressure on Iran. The logic behind electronic warfare is that such capabilities can weaken an adversary before any kinetic strikes begin, according to defense analysts. By degrading communications, radar, and command systems, electronic warfare creates conditions more favorable for subsequent operations. This is standard military doctrine rather than specific to any particular scenario. In any potential conflict scenario, adversary forces would rely on communications to coordinate responses, radar to detect incoming threats, and command networks to direct defensive and offensive operations. Disrupting these systems would complicate responses to military action, according to the logic outlined in defense doctrine. The concept of affecting adversary systems before strikes represents a standard approach in modern military operations practiced by militaries worldwide. The United States has invested heavily in electronic warfare capabilities precisely because they provide advantages in critical phases of conflict. This doctrinal emphasis explains the attention to platforms like the EA-37B during periods of tension. The capabilities are relevant regardless of whether specific operations are planned because they would be valuable in any high-end scenario. Their presence indicates capability rather than necessarily indicating intent. The characterization of electronic warfare as a force multiplier reflects its role in enhancing the effectiveness of other platforms, according to defense analysts. By degrading adversary defenses, electronic warfare makes strike aircraft more survivable and missiles more likely to reach their targets. The cumulative effect exceeds what individual platforms could achieve independently. In a scenario involving military operations, aircraft operating against degraded defenses would face reduced risk of detection and interception. Missiles flying toward targets with jammed radar would face reduced probability of being intercepted. These advantages accumulate across the force rather than being limited to the electronic warfare platform itself. From an adversary perspective, the force multiplier effect means the combined force is more dangerous than the sum of its individual elements, according to analysts. Countering electronic warfare becomes a priority because doing so reduces the effectiveness of everything else. This dynamic shapes both offensive and defensive planning. The EA-37B's presence at Ramstein in this context adds capability that could enhance other American assets if operations were conducted. However, training and familiarization activities also require positioning advanced platforms, and the roadshow characterization suggests these purposes rather than immediate operational employment. Regional observers are watching the American military buildup with concern about where the situation might lead, according to reports from regional media. Countries in the Gulf and broader Middle East understand that any conflict between the United States and Iran would affect them directly. The positioning of various military capabilities alongside the arrival of specialized platforms like electronic warfare aircraft suggests comprehensive preparation for various scenarios, according to regional analysts. This preparation creates anxiety among countries that might be affected by any conflict through disrupted shipping, economic consequences, or potential targeting. Countries that host American military facilities face particular concerns about being drawn into any conflict, according to regional reporting. Iranian warnings about targeting bases that support attacks create risks for host nations that they must weigh against their relationships with Washington. The statements from Saudi Arabia and the UAE about limitations on use of their territory reflect these concerns. Regional states are attempting to signal their preferences for de-escalation while managing relationships with both the United States and Iran during a period of elevated tensions. Turkey has positioned itself as a potential mediator given its relationships with both Washington and Tehran, according to regional reporting. Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi is due to travel to Turkey on Friday for an official visit, according to Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Pakistan's Foreign Ministry says its foreign minister stressed that dialogue and diplomacy remain the only viable way forward in a call with Iran's foreign minister. The commitment to continued communication reflects the concern among Iran's neighbors about the potential consequences of escalation. India's embassy in Tehran said its deputy NSA held consultations with senior Iranian officials. Details of attendees vary by reporting. The visit is seen as a notable diplomatic signal as regional tensions continue to rise, according to reporting on the diplomatic activity. These various diplomatic engagements suggest that regional powers are actively seeking to prevent escalation that would affect their own interests. The multilateral diplomatic activity creates potential pathways for de-escalation, though whether those pathways will be pursued depends on decisions in Washington and Tehran. Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his UAE counterpart that Moscow is closely monitoring the situation in Iran, and he wants to discuss it with him in Kremlin talks, according to reporting. The Russian interest in discussing Iran with the UAE reflects Moscow's concern about potential American military action. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the potential for talks between the U.S. and Iran had not yet been exhausted, and that any use of force against Tehran could create chaos in the region, according to reporting. The Russian position adds to international voices urging restraint and continued diplomacy. Russia maintains relationships with Iran and has interests in preventing unilateral American military action in the region, according to analysts. Russia opposes unilateral American military action and has warned about destabilizing effects of such action. The UAE's role as an interlocutor reflects its positioning as a country that maintains relationships with multiple major powers, according to regional analysts. Abu Dhabi's recent hosting of Russia-Ukraine talks demonstrates its diplomatic capacity, which could potentially extend to U.S.-Iran tensions. The EA-37B's visit to Ramstein occurs against the backdrop of elevated U.S.-Iran tensions and broader American military buildup in the Middle East. While USAFE characterizes the stop as a scheduled roadshow, the timing ensures the visit receives attention from observers seeking to understand American intentions. The combination of official characterization as routine and external speculation about potential operational relevance illustrates the challenge of interpreting military movements during periods of tension. Both perspectives, that this is routine activity and that timing matters, may contain elements of truth. The broader buildup, including carrier strike groups, strike aircraft, and tankers, provides context for interpreting the EA-37B visit. Whether viewed as part of comprehensive preparation or as an unrelated routine activity, the platform's capabilities would be relevant if conflict were to occur. For observers tracking the situation, the EA-37B's presence at Ramstein raises questions that cannot be definitively answered from publicly available information. The aircraft's capabilities would be relevant in high-end scenarios, but its presence at a particular location does not confirm specific operational intent. The crisis continues as both sides position capabilities, and observers attempt to interpret what the movements mean.